Here at the Giver Marketing Network, we don't leave you drifting out in space. We connect you to a coach who will help you build and grow your marketing business. Our process acts as a guide on how to connect with other businesses, maintain good relations, and establish a presence on the Giver Marketing Network. Each member within this collaborative group will have the opportunity to leverage your talent and influence, a true network effect. If you are looking to collaborate on more projects, welcome to the Giver Marketing Network, the most trusted and highest rated collective of specialists on the planet. Here we have a group of like-minded professionals who focus on making valuable introductions and helping each other grow by teaming up. Imagine Upwork meets a network and a coach. The talent collectively includes services like visibility and SEO, creating logos, designing websites, managing social media, outreach messaging, visual storytelling, and much more. Think of what you could do with laser-focused allies strengthening your business while offering your talent to the entire network. Click near this video for more information.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Giver Marketing Masterclass. We're streaming on Kingdom Warriors private group page all over the internet, all over the place, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Thank you for watching. Deane is with us as one of our masterclass guests. She's a certified marketing coach with the Giver Marketing Network, and she has many clients she's helped with marketing plans. Christine, are we excited? We're going to have some fun today, huh?
Woo! I love talking about marketing plans. We are in my sweet spot. We're going to have some fun today.
So whether you're getting your marketing plan together for the beginning of a year or the beginning of a quarter or a month, or you're putting something together for your own business or for another client, this is the topic you want to definitely pay attention to, because we talk a lot, Christine, you and I and others within the network, about the Giver Marketing Blueprint and what are these 4 pieces. And I'll show a visual here. Actually, you know what? I'll just bring it up right now. We'll just jump right into it so people can get some goodies and some nuggets right off the bat. Let's see if it'll show up here on our screen. So usually we talk, Christine or myself or Tim Solmonson or Stacy Stockford or any of the other coaches within our network will talk about, hey, you got to make sure a few pieces are kind of dialed in, almost like a pre-foundation or a foundation to what you're going to be doing for the next 30, 60, 90, 360 days, whatever that plan entails. And we do a lot of 90-day plans around here. And so this is really a non-negotiable, kind of the ingredients you get ready for the meal, right? So the branding, the visibility, promotion, and nurturing in that order. Do you want to talk about these really quickly before we go into the kind of the planning side of the conversation?
Right, because you're going to need elements of these for all of your marketing plans, right? If you don't have your branding on point, if people don't know who you are, they're not understanding your values, they don't understand what you represent and what you're all about, they have no reason to pay any attention to you. So whatever it is, you want to make sure your branding is absolutely strong. Visibility, can they see you? What do you have out there, right? Are you findable? Can we even find you? If you have nothing out there, we can't find you. I've got businesses I've worked with, or literally they've been around since 1980 and they have 0 posts on LinkedIn. I'm like, I thought you would close down. Sorry. You have to be visible. There, yeah. Are you promoting factor, your business at all? Right. You got to have promotions out there. You got to let people find you. You got to let them know that you're here. They got to find you. You got to be able to be out there, right? If you're not promoting yourself, then they don't know you exist. And are you nurturing those clients and prospects along? Those are all elements that are going to tie all in through when you're putting together your marketing plan.
It's also important to know, I think, too, Christine, is that this is not just a digital conversation. There's a in-person element to these. If you're planning events or hybrid events or different things, all these pieces can be done either digitally or non-digitally, or digitally or in person, or old school, or however you want to say it. There's still pieces of this that no matter what industry you're in, you were talking about earlier about kind of knowing your strengths and
oh goodness, yeah,
some of those kind of things. So I'll let you kind of touch on that in a minute, but no matter what you're doing, these are non-negotiables. Like they have to happen before you put a plan together, before you really hang your shingle in a significant way. I mean, you can open your business, but within days, you need to have these pieces kind of starting to dial in. Otherwise, you will not be in business in the next, the next several years. It just you won't be around. So, Christine, you had some tips on how to take, and I'll bring down the blueprint now, but how to take this blueprint and kind of build upon it. What are some of the things you were talking about earlier?
Well, these are really the basics of marketing, right? But you have to have a plan. You got to know what to do with it all. And a lot of times we get lost, right? We're like, "Oh, I don't have time. I'm just going to wing it." Right? And we do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's not a concentrated, overall organized plan. You really have to take that time out and say, "Okay, so what are my strengths? Okay, what can I do myself? What do I need to bring in experts to help with?" Right. So sometimes we just can't do it all. Right. As a business owner, you're expected to be your own accountant. You're supposed to be your own HR. You're supposed to, there's all these different things, and you're supposed to be your own marketer. Right. And a lot of times we're not ready to do all those steps on our own. Right. We need a little help. We need a little guidance. Right. And so having people that can come in and help us. So think about your own strengths. Where are your strengths at? What can you do well? And what do you need to bring in people to help you with? Right. And that's going to be a big part with your marketing. Go towards your strengths, right? So I've got people that are great at writing, right? So they're great for blog writing, right? But other people are like, "Oh no, I don't like to write. That's not my strength." Okay, we'll do a video, right? There's a lot of ways to get your message out, and bring in help where you need it. So know what your strengths are, and you can't spend all your time learning new skills, right? So sometimes you're going to need to bring in other people for that. Just accept that. It's okay. And I know as business owners, a lot of times we think, "Oh my goodness, I have to do it all on my own." And you don't, right? Bring in other people to help you. You're putting a lot on your shoulders, right? And our shoulders are wide, but they're not that wide. So make some room for other people to give you a hand. And it's okay. Accept that going in, right? So really play to your strengths. And what you do in your marketing plan might have something to do with what industry you're in, right? We see, "Oh, I'll make a marketing plan for you," and people do cookie cutter. And not all businesses are exactly the same, right? So play into what your industry is and what you need, right? And a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, all the different social media," right? Timothy, I know we're broadcasting live on a lot of different places, right? But play to your strengths and where your audience is, right? So if your audience isn't hanging out on TikTok, but TikTok's all the rage, you don't need to spend time on TikTok, right? That
Yeah,
might
strengths or superpowers, or the things that you lean into the most, your natural abilities, your gifts, your talents, however you want to kind of package that up. These are the God-given things that we have in us that we're offering to the marketplace, that quite frankly, it comes natural to us, but
Mhm.
maybe to somebody else, even in the same industry, might be slightly different, and your superpowers might come to the forefront more often. It doesn't mean that's all you do. It just means that is your special ability that you can bring, that very few others can do in the way that you do.
Right. And if you think about the industry, if there's a way to partner with someone else, I've seen this happen where a lot of people have been able to find another partner, even within their same industry, that they can work together with. And then one has one strength, someone else has another, and they work together very nicely. Right. So I've seen that happen with, for example, coaches, right? Or they'll work together and coach together. And so there's possibilities there for, bringing in somebody who has that strength that maybe you don't have. And when it comes to your marketing, you want what's going to work best for your industry. And it's not everywhere. Your financial planners, right? They have a lot of restrictions on what they can do for their promotions and things, right? So you really need to look at your industry and what makes sense. Where is your audience, right? The people that you want to talk to, where are they? Right. So make sure your marketing plan is focused on areas that are going to put you in front of the people that you really want to talk to. Right.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of marketing plans, even some of the early marketing plans that we had in kind of developing our giver marketing network and working with Kingdom Warriors and other, like right in the baby stages. We're still trying to figure that out. Like, where are our people? Like, should we be on Facebook? Should we be on this social channel? Should we be on LinkedIn? Like, where do we go and like get on stages, podcast stages of particular industry leaders? Like, where should we spend our time so that we can have the greatest amount of attention from the audience we actually want, not just a random audience, not just numbers, but the people that will actually go, oh, well, I'm glad they showed up because I want to hear more about that. Just like we're doing right now. Like we make sure that we're on the right channels with the right groups. Folks are probably just getting ready to ask a bunch of questions right now in the comments. Be like, okay, what about this? How many days should we put what kind of plan should we put together? Is a 30-day plan better? Is a 90-day plan better? Like what should we do to kind of get our pieces together? And Christine, I know you had a couple of more pieces. Like I think you said strengths was the first one. What was the second one you had mentioned before?
Yeah. So the industry, right? Make sure your marketing plan focuses on whatever it is best practices for your industry, because it's not all the same, right? If your industry is not spending a lot of time on Instagram, maybe you're a construction worker. You've got a construction business, right? Maybe they're not all hanging out looking at those cool, rhubarb and rebarb and like concrete, right? Maybe that's not where your group's at, right? But if you're an artist, right? Instagram's a great place to hang out, right? So it just kind of depends on what your industry is and where your people are going to be, where you're going to find those, right?
Yeah. And if you're going to be counterintuitive and take a certain a craft that you have, let's say you are a construction professional and you want to take Instagram by storm, you better have a plan at that point, because you're gonna really need to fight through that kind of that noise and let's say, hey, look, we can represent here too, that kind of a thing. And you're gonna have to really have some, what do you call that, chutzpah? Like that kind of that. What's that? What's the term? I'm trying to say it right. Did I even say it right? I don't know.
Yeah, you're going to have to stand out. That's for sure. Absolutely. And when you're thinking about, okay, your strengths, what industry you're in, who your ideal audience is, right? What are your goals for your business? Right? If you're not taking the goals for your business into mind when you're thinking about your marketing, how are you going to get where you want to go?
Oh, you mean actual numbers and things we can track and things we can look back and say, yay, we got it, we did it. You mean those kind of things, Christine? Really?
Yeah. Well, so you got to look at it, right? So if you're a service industry business, right, you need to look at what services am I offering, right? Which ones are bringing me in the best return on investment, right? What are my high profit items and what are my lower ones? What am I using to get people in the door and then upselling other things, right? So you got to take a look at your services and say, okay, these are the different services I'm offering. And do I have a plan for each of those? Do I have a goal for each one of those services? Okay. So right now I have this many people I'm servicing for insert concept here. What is it? So, I'm a hairstylist and I currently have, 30 clients a month that I cut their hair. Okay. But maybe I want to bring in more clients to do coloring. Right. So maybe I want to have, so my goal is to add in more. So I need to do a whole campaign related to that, specifically to bring in more people to do colors or to do highlights. Right. So what it is, you got to figure out what are your service areas. Right. And then you have to plan, what are my goals for each of those service areas. Right.
I love that. Ladies and gentlemen, write that down. Whatever service areas or product lines that you want to increase in, make sure and build some metrics, some numbers, some trackable pieces around that, and that will give you kind of the framework for your 30-day plan, your 90-day plan, your 1-year goals, like all of these kind of things. So tell us more about that, Christine, as we kind of build on this concept.
Well, so you got a great point there, right? You have your 90 days, right? So think about, what are my goals for this next year? And then you got to break them down into usable chunks, right? That makes sense. So you're going to break them down into quarters, and then each quarter, you're going to break those down into months, right? And that's going to break down into your weekly goals, right? So when you think about the big picture and you want to break that down and make it into sizable chunks that you can bite into, right? Because otherwise you go, oh, my goal is to have, 300 new clients next month. You're like, oh, that's a lot. Okay, how am I going to make that happen, right? So if you break that down, you can get it down. I know for the DFW Veterans Chamber, they've got a goal for recruitment. Right. So you've got so many people that you want to recruit. So this is how many they want for the year. And then they've got it broken down into monthly. So every month they want to recruit 16 people. Right. Okay. Well, that's doable if then you put a plan in place. Right. Okay. You can't just say, this is my goal. Well, how are you going to get there? right?
I'm
You got to
reminded
have
of
a
the
plan.
SMART goals concept, Christine, as you're talking, and I know we'll probably get there later, but I mean, at the basic level, I love the reverse engineering concept you just said. Like, hey, we got this 1 year goal. It's time bound, right? It's measurable. I'm not putting them in any order, but it's very specific. These are the things we want in these particular service areas. You're hinting around these SMART goals even right now. And for those who haven't heard of SMART goals, just Google it. SMART, the word SMART goals. It'll come up. There'll be like 5 million like kind of images and blogs and concepts. It's one of the most powerful ways to kind of dance around goals, especially if you have a weird relationship with goals where you feel like, okay, I feel like a failure if I'm not going to do this perfectly. If I don't get an A+ on this, I'm going to get yelled by about this by somebody, either a business partner or a friend or even yourself. Like that mindset around goals sometimes can be a little tough. But hey, we're here to encourage you. Like, just try it. Have some fun. Who cares if you get a C- this year and then a B+ next year, and then you keep improving, especially in particular areas. So leverage SMART goals with what Christine's talking about, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be fun.
Absolutely. Right. And you have to put systems in place to support those goals. You can't just say, I would like to be a millionaire this year. And there you go. That's all I have to do. Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, some people say that, Christine. I'm not really like, I don't even know what to call them anymore. They're not even gurus in my mind. They're more like fake it till you make it people. Like and they make a lot of money by telling people that they made a lot of money, but they didn't make a lot of money without you paying them money to tell them that you make a lot of money. So it's kind of a weird deal sometimes. Like I'd rather roll with you and others who are actually doing this stuff, helping companies go from 0 to 100K, from 100K to a million, from a million to and more. So I'd rather roll with people that are serving the 80% of the entrepreneurs that can actually get some of the stuff down, reverse engineer it. Let's just hit it. Some people's goals. I was just listening to somebody yesterday. It was Gary Vaynerchuk of all people, right? Mr. Hustle, right? Or whatever. And he was saying, look, if you want to make X amount of dollars, and I won't even say the number because it doesn't really matter. It all changes every year. It depends on who you are. But if you want to make X amount of dollars and your work life kind of balance and priorities and all these different things are right where you want it, and you just enjoy maybe a little bit more free time than somebody else, don't feel guilty for that. Like, do your thing. Like, spend time with your grandkids and your kids and your friends, and go work on your health. That's kind of a bigger priority right now. You can still make what you need to make to cover the bills, and you can 10x if you want to 10x. But if you want to just 3x, just do that and just relax. Like, take the stress level just down just a notch, and get your clarity of thinking. What is it that you really want to be doing over the next year, couple years even? But at the end of the day, if we don't have some kind of goal, even a low key goal, like, look, I want to double my revenue this year. What would it take? What's the most impactful use of my time? The channels that we have available to get the word out, and some of these kind of things. I love it, Christine. Your vibe is like super, like, hey, you can do this, like super encouraging. Christine's like the encourager voice. It's super fun. So tell us more, Christine. Give us some more tips here as we kind of put our plans together.
And like you said, you got to pick and choose. Whenever you only have so much time, right? And you got to pick and choose where you're going to invest that time, right? And so you got to decide, well, what are my best return on investment? Right. And so I always have my clients look at the two different sides of it. Okay, what's my high end, right? What's going to bring that big money in? But a lot of times it takes a while to make those sales. Right. That's not something that you can usually sell right off the bat. Right. So you've got the high end expensive stuff and you want those coming in. But at the same time, on the other side of it, right, you got to have things that are quick wins and easy wins. Right. You got to put bread on the table today in addition to bread on the table in the future. Right. So it's kind of a balance between those two. So I always say pick your high and then pick something that's a little bit easier, but brings you in lots of people. Because the more customers you come in, it's easier to upsell to a current client. If they loved your service for one thing, right, you can get them to buy into something else that you have, right?
I wonder if this is tied into like the psychology of a business owner. Tell me what you think. I mean, the psychology of a business owner getting some small wins, gaining confidence, and continuing to talk to the, potentially larger clients and larger package, prospects. But getting those small wins, wouldn't that grease the wheels? I mean, wouldn't that get you moving? And at least you can say to yourself, we got something today. I got a little, I caught a little fish. Maybe I can catch a big fish. Like, is there a psychology to this that I'm not fully aware
Oh,
of?
absolutely. Right. I mean, think about it, right? When you've got a win, it keeps you motivated. It keeps you going, right? That's that whole mindset of success. So those little wins keep adding, right? And they snowball. Kind of, let me give you an example for the industry. If you look at insurance, okay. So a lot of people that are involved in life insurance, right? So they're selling these life insurances. They get maybe a money from it once a year. Okay. And it's a small amount.
Yeah.
But what they're really hoping for is to get a rollover. Somebody who has a big account that then needs to be rolled into something bigger. Now they make their big money, right? So it's little. Ooh, there's the big one, right? And then they get a big windfall, and then they go little up. So they're using those little ones to bring in more people, more clients, so they can find that one that's the big one that puts a big chunk of money in their pocket.
So you might get like a small life insurance policy over here, or a health insurance policy is even smaller usually. And then on the other end, somebody might roll over their entire life savings through a 401k, or at least part of it, a big chunk of it, and then kind of roll it up. Okay, I see what you're saying there. We always love working with financial professionals because they're trying to get their mind around not only the numbers on this side to help their clients, but also the numbers on their marketing side. So we kind of help with that piece. That's super fun. Well, cool. So, all right. So I'm thinking here, how about the mindset of like, when you're catching those smaller fish, or you're kind of closing those smaller deals, and you're serving your clients on the smaller, packages. I've noticed over the years, some clients are like, look, I don't really service my clients on the smaller packages anymore. That's kind of an off menu thing now. I'm really focusing on what used to be my big clients, but now I have even bigger goals. Do you feel like that's generally a healthy kind of thing to expect? Or how does that work in your mind?
It depends on how you set up your business, right? When you think about it, for an agency, for example, like we just use life insurance, right? If you brought in more agents that then handled those smaller accounts, and then you focused on the bigger accounts, right? So you could still provide that. If you're going solo, you may not have enough time for both, right? It depends on what it is. And you see that with coaches. Well, they'll start with their smaller clients. And then I always say, as those fade out and that one stops working with you, the next one you sign on at a higher amount. And when the lower one fades out, you sign the next one at the higher amount. And then you end up seeing that average go up over time.
This makes sense. I love that concept, Christine, and it's a really good thing to consider. Oftentimes what I'm hearing you say is a business has a choice. If you're going to stay solo, make sure those clients you're getting better and better. So make sure those at servicing your clients. So make sure you charge a premium as you continue, or you could also grab some team members, an assistant, an associate, an apprentice, and start leveraging others. Time plus talent equals treasure, right? So leveraging some other folks' time and talent, and kind of help them get their feet wet in the industry. And a lot of these like financial services type, even real estate type professionals, that's how they make their retirement kind of money. Like they really start recruiting team members. Some of the like EXP Realty, and I'm not going to drop a bunch of names, but there's some really innovative models out there for financial and real estate services that leverage your power team, like your network, your connections, and welcoming people into the industry so they can make good living for their family too. And so to be able to serve not only your clients, but also serve your friends, family, and associates with opportunities to come in and be a part of a kind of a team of professionals. That's kind of a fun extra bonus there for everybody, right?
It is. And you're seeing that more and more. Like you said, we didn't used to see that so much in real estate, right? But you're seeing more of that. Like you mentioned one, Experior is another one for life insurance that's doing that same concept where they're working as teams and building, right? So when you have an opportunity to work as a team and work together, right now you can have different people handling different things. or add automations to it, right? So if you've got something that you used to do by hand, now if you wanted a quote for something, right, they can send them to your website, they can put in their information, they get an automatic quote, right? So if you can start automating some of those things that used to take your time, so you can spend that energy on those higher end clients and let the ones that are more of the mundane side that aren't paying quite as high, right? If you can automate those in any way, that really makes sense from a time perspective.
I love it. I love it. And it's important to note too, in the age of artificial intelligence and automation, that humans are the most brilliant and dynamic creature or processor of information on the planet. So it's really important to know how to use these tools and think of them just as tools. They're tools in our hands, basically. And so automation and artificial intelligence with all these apps and different things coming out, they're going to get better and better and better and better. We're going to have glasses on, walking around a room, talking to each other in the next probably 12 to 24 months, Christine, like just on the regular. Like it's just going to start happening. I've already been in virtual reality business meetings. You probably experienced some fun stuff over the holidays too. But listen, we're all going to have these experiences, and the question is how much of this do we want to keep as kind of our differentiator? How much of this is smooth, and how much of it is kind of clunky? Like, do we really? Is it ready for us? Is it ready for what we? So let's pay really close attention to the basics, the foundations, and then get into these small automation pieces. Like, for example, there's so many examples. I won't go into a bunch of them, but email automation, Facebook chat automation, these chat bots that you can put on your website and different things. Sometimes they're tied into Facebook, sometimes they're not. They're just very basic, like, hey, we're paying attention to you. We care that you get something initially, and then we're going to take over at some point and make sure that you're handled with care. I think it's important to note that that nurturing piece that we kind of alluded to before can really be, you can really set yourself apart. So, hey, in the next few minutes, Christine, I'd like to invite Stacy Stockford and Tim Solmonson into the conversation and actually talk about how they might put together, how we might all put together like a 90-day plan. That's a pretty common, like once you got your goals or your 1-year goals, you talked about reverse engineering that. Do you want to do that? Do you want to do like a roundtable discussion?
Yeah, I think that would be fun, right? We want to make sure people are thinking about their strengths, their industry, what their goals are for their business, and start thinking about what they want to do with their different, talked about their products and their services and which ones they want to focus on building up, right? So these are all great tools, right? Who do you need to bring in? What tools do you need to bring in, right? And I bet our team here has some great ideas on how to bring this all together.
100%. Any thoughts or comments about this conversation so far, Tim and Stacy, just to kind of add some flavor on the meal that we're making here?
But you know, my focus is always starting with why, and once you have your why determined, then it's easier to know who to invite into your why, what problem it is you're solving, for who. I mean, the same questions that you're asking. But of course, I think that a business really needs to figure out what it is, what problem that they solve in the world, so that and who they solve it for, so that they can be clear about their messaging. I think that's another thing that complicates a lot of business marketing, is that they aren't really clear about who this message is for, and they're not really clear about the problem that they're solving. They have a product or service, and they talk about the wonders of this product or service, and the transformational properties of this product or service, but they don't really it's like Simon Sinek, back to one of our favorite guys. It's, people don't buy what you have, they buy because of how it makes them feel. So if we're thinking about the ways that our product and service really change someone's life, and for what purpose, and I tend to steer away
from. Do you recommend on a yearly basis, at the very least, revisiting your why and make sure it's it's still on point and sharpened for the coming, quarter or year or whatever time frame it is that you're kind of focusing in on? Do you recommend doing that on the regular?
Well, and I've shared in our, more in our group, the recent exercise that I've done, and I think it's been super helpful. And that's write my eulogy, thinking about what I want to be known for at the end of my life, and the things that I want people to say about me. I think is a valid question that we can ask about our business. And I do this every day. I review this every day. And I think that if you review your why every day, making sure that you're clear about it, and then you're able to communicate that to your team members, and that they're able to communicate your why to your customers and other stakeholders. So I would say on a daily, if you can, as a leader, you need to daily remember what your main purpose is, what your why is, and then regularly, as I used to attend a church where the pastor always said, vision leaks. So you always have to be refilling and reminding people of, where it is we're going and what it is that we're doing in the world to make it a better place. So
I love talking about, with organizations like Giver Marketing Network, of course, and then Kingdom Warriors and others, that we're talking about, impacting millions of people for a particular reason. Kingdom Warriors, they'll talk about impacting millions of people to impact the arts and entertainment world for people of faith, and making sure that there's some alternative. There's a place to go that's family friendly, but still killer and cutting edge. You know what I mean? And I love hearing stories of from just starting to like impacting thousands, if not millions of people. And same with Giver Marketing Network, same with our companies. Like, we want to impact millions of people for XYZ, or because of this, or because we see this issue in the market and we want to solve this problem. There's a gap and we want to fill that gap. I love that, Tim. And just to be clear, you're not going to write a book called Start With Eulogy, right? Like that's not what you're going to do, right? But it's a powerful, like, come on, guys, that was funny. I mean, that was good.
I laughed, Timothy.
Thank you. But the power of that is to kind of reverse engineer what you actually want to see by the time 10, 20, 30, 40 years rolls around. You want to actually be on some kind of path that makes a difference and makes that impact. And we're big on shaping culture through marketing efforts. And so we want to see 1,000 members impacting 1 million organizations that are impacting the culture, right? So we love that positive change that we can see when we do that. So,
yeah, when Tim was talking about the why, right, and double checking, right, is your business goals, right? Do they filter through your why? What happens when you apply your why to it, right? Are you staying on point? And you can get off track, right, really easily. So you have to ask yourself, and then it's layers, right? So do your business goals, so do your marketing goals fit that? Right? Is it all going to tie back into your why? That's a great point.
I love that. Now, I'm kind of curious when it comes to values, because that's come up a couple of times. Noble purpose, if you're talking to Tim Solmonson, or values, or starting with why, that's kind of the heartbeat and the real motivator behind what you're actually doing, right? And sometimes that's front and center. Sometimes it's just kind of leaking out. It's kind of just slowly getting out there, right? But what about when you have a choice between, okay, I gotta focus on kind of my core motivators and that paycheck to cover my mortgage? Like, what do we do then? Like, how does that work? Maybe Tim, you can mention something about that. Stacy, love to hear your thoughts on, like, when it comes down to your core values, which you don't want to necessarily leave, but what about when cash is tight and you really need to roll and raise that next $500,000 or $1 million, or what? It could be $5,000. Like, this depends on what you're doing. But what do we do then when cash is tight? How do we stay on track with our goals and everything?
Well, first and foremost, you make sure that your business goals align align with your personal goals. So you have to have an alignment there, in my opinion, of both, so that you can stay on target and on track. And keeping yourself well-rounded with not only your marketing plan, your business plan, personal plan, but how are you doing that? Like, do you have it really written down on a calendar? Like, do you have this really written out? Do you follow it? Like, do you have something written out that you're actually following? We could put lots of things through our mind, but putting pen to paper, there's a muscle memory there that happens. So maybe the old fashioned pen to paper, going right back to that and looking at that every day, that's what I've kind of switched back to. I do a lot of things digitally as well, of course, with what we're doing. However, that pen to paper and writing things down and that check mark type mentality really helps me to stay focused throughout my days on where how do I network? Like this all goes back to networking as well. So how do I network? Am I only on Zoom? Am I only doing that? Or do I pick up the phone and actually make phone calls? Like there's all kinds of different ways. So how we're connecting with our audience can a lot of people kind of maybe get stuck in the digital realm of email and social media and that's all great. That's all a great starter, but add a phone call to that. Add a phone call to that and just up that value even more. For example, we at Giver Marketing send out emails weekly, and we sent out an email that I'm noticing the responses coming back to, and it's all positive responses. Hey, awesome. Let me see how I can connect with you. So we're getting lots of responses back. So sometimes not only promoting an event through email, but literally how's your 2023 shaping up and how can we help you? Kind of email conversations as well. So lots of different ways we can just keep on point with making sure our audience, we know our who, we are aligning with all aspects of life. And at the end of the day, if your personal goals are not aligning with your business goals, it's going to be challenging to stick with those business goals. Let's be real. It's going to be a challenge to stick with it. Impossible? No, but it all wraps into one. So it's best to make sure that you're making sure that you're doing a little bit of both and making that alignment there. And like Tim talks about Tim mentions a eulogy. Well, you can just think of it this way. If the eulogy feels dark to you, because that could be a bit of a dark thing, think of it as literally what impact do you want to leave behind? Just the impact.
The real impact. Okay.
The real impact, the real raw impact. When somebody says Stacey Stockford, what are they going to remember about me?
It makes me think, Stacey, of the old adage that your brand is what people say when you're not in the room. Well, what if you took that to the furthest extent? What are they going to say about you when you're really not in the room? Like when your time in the room is done. And Tim's like challenging all of us. I'm getting a little uncomfortable every time I talk to Tim, which is a good thing because he's like, look, we need to get back to our noble purpose, our core values, our why. And so you start thinking about like the longer version of that, and that gets pretty real. Wow.
Right. And write it down, right? That's what Timothy's talking about. Write down your why, right? And Tim's talking about your eulogy. What does it look like, right? Write it down. Stacey's talking about, your to-do list, right? So whatever your plan is, you got to write that down, figure out what it is, and then make it make sense on the calendar. If you're going to do phone calls, right? What are you doing for lead gen? How are you getting your business? So Timothy, you're sitting there talking about, okay, well, what if money's tight? How do you hold on? You can still hold on to those values, but you got to have a to-do list and you got to do it. Whether you're going to do it or you're going to outsource it to someone else, right? Or bring in more team members, somebody who has that strength, but you got to have a plan, right?
I'll tell you what, Christine's a to-doer. She's a to-doer. She gets things done. And if you want to reach out to any of us and talk about these kind of things, Christine's your to-doer. Tim's your deep thinker. He's going to help make sure that you got kind of a compass for what you're doing. Stacey gets those conversations going. She's a conversation architect, if you will. Like she gets she doesn't care what medium it is. It's whether it's emails or phone calls or chats or inboxing people on social media. And boy, Christine, when I talk to you and when we work together on anything, including the summit coming up every year in January, we do a summit. So, when we organize all that, hey, let's just get some things done so we can check them off our list this week so we can get some progress and get excited about these things, right? And growing our group, which is, on the screen there now. But gosh, when it comes to anything, there needs to be some action, and we can have paralysis of it by analysis, right? And oftentimes, but that doesn't give us an out to deeply think about what we're doing and then start getting some things done and see if the market starts to kind of respond to that, because either we're fulfilling a need or we're not. Like either we're just here wasting time or we're helping people, right? In some specific way. I know our big vision is to bring positive attention to causes and companies that are shaping culture for good. And then I know some of the goals that we've written down is we want to hit that 100 team member mark, because if we don't have 100 team members, we're not going to probably reach those million organizations that we want to reach. So those are more measurable. Those are a little bit less long, like ethereal, I guess, or dreamlike. They're more measurable. Goals always have a number attached to them in some way, shape, or form, ladies and gentlemen. A vision is more like a dream of what you want something to be like, or when you, like Tim says, there's this noble destination that you're kind of going toward. It doesn't always have to have like 15 different metrics built into it. It's just a picture that you actually want to see happen in the world. Like this is my vision. It's like Steve Jobs talking about the iPhone. He wasn't talking about numbers and widgets and all this stuff. He was talking about a future in which this was happening. And guess what? It's happening. Like people like that are like, of course they're on stage and they're talking to a billion people or more. That's fine. We can talk to our audience the same way and share our vision, our story, and our noble purpose. But at the end of the day, we got to get it down to like, what are we going to do this week? Like,
right. Are we going to take it? Are you going to go from theory to actuality, right? You got to go from that beautiful vision that Tim's, our why, right? We've got this beautiful why, but what are we going to do with it, right? Can we grab that, turn that into goals with action items and break that down into a timeline that we can then make it happen, right? Otherwise, it's just a beautiful dream.
All right, so let's take a 90-day goal as an example as we turn this dream or this vision or this noble purpose into something that's, 3 months, a quarter. We need 1 quarter of awesomeness. How do we do this, ladies and gentlemen? As we land the plane, let's just give a couple tips, maybe a couple each even. How do we land this plane when it comes to it? Let's talk about a 90-day plan, because I think most people are familiar with like to-do lists for a week. A lot of folks are like, hey, next month I want to hit this goal for my revenue or whatever. But what about these 90-day plans that kind of stretches us just a little bit farther than maybe what's randomly possible, right? Like, how do we plan this out?
When we take those year-long goals, right, and we break it down, we say, okay, this is my highest paying service or my highest paying product. I'm going to put a system in place I want that to grow exponentially, right? That's where I want to be. It serves my why. That's a guarantee there, Tim. It's going to serve our why. Okay. And we're going to take that, we're going to run that goal. Okay. And we're going to say 90 days. And if you were to do a new one, I would say no more than 2 major goals per quarter. But if you bring a new one on every 90 days, right, by the end of that year, you've built out campaigns for, several different products or services, right? By the end of the year, you can look back and say, look, I built that out, right? I did this one, the high paying one, the next one I did the fast one, the next one I did was the in-between one, right? And by the time you get to the end of the year, you've got them all set out. So that 90 days, what are you going to do in 90 days? How do you make that impact in 90 days?
So you're recommending kind of writing that out and reverse engineering, maybe have the year goal at the top of whatever document you got going, and then say, okay, quarter 1 or quarter 2 or quarter 3 or whatever it is. This is what I want to do in the next 90 days to head toward that goal.
Break it down, right?
Break it
Draw
down into
lines on your piece of paper, divide it into quarters. This is quarter 1, quarter 2, 3, 4, right? All right.
Okay.
Now I've got this quarter. What am I going to do with that first quarter? That's going to be my first 90 days. What do I need to do to survive, right? We go back, look at the basics, right? How's your branding? Are you okay? If you run with this, does it look like this is what you believe? Does this show your values, right? Is your branding set up? Okay, I do. Now, what is it about this particular product? And Tim mentioned a good thing about not just the solution, but what problem are you solving, right? That's got to be part of that marketing plan. If it's not, just, hi, I have a bottle. You want to buy a bottle? Here's a bottle. Bottle, anybody? Right? You got to have
general awareness is not enough anymore, right? General awareness is not the thing anymore. It used to be maybe 25 years ago, like just get your name in front of 1 million people and you'll be a millionaire. And it's like, no, you can do that pretty easily now. Like you don't. Now it's all about niching to the problem and the audience. Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about when we're getting down to these 90-day plans, and we realize, okay, I need somebody to review this or look over this or help me stay. I like to use the term naturally accountable. It's just normal, like weekly or monthly rhythms where you're connecting with your team. Can we do this in-house, like with just our team members and say, hey guys, this is our goals. I need you to keep me kind of on top of this and I want you to be on top of this. Can we be mutually, like naturally accountable to these things if we share this more often? What are you guys seeing in your businesses and with the clients you serve? Is that kind of the secret sauce that kind of helps things get done and not forgotten after 3 weeks?
Yeah, I definitely think that like if you're really clear about the process. So I share with our mastermind group yesterday a goal sheet that I put together. It's a Google spreadsheet with daily habits that I'm trying to develop that I feel like are going to help me become the man I want to be and doing the things that I want to do, and health wise, spiritual wise, career wise, financial. These are all goals that I have for this year. And I think I don't know who said it, but a goal is a dream that is written down. So basically what we've been talking about here is taking the time to write out, and basically all last month, or good part of December, I was thinking, okay, what does 2023 what do I want it to look like? What do I want to accomplish? And like Christine was saying, what are the high level goals? And you were talking, Timothy, earlier about, what happens when, when you're feeling the crunch of paying the bills. My thought has always been that your profitability and the finances that come in are a direct reflection. They're really a byproduct of the value that you create for people. And once people
write that down, ladies and gentlemen,
they have the trust. They have you've built the trust, you have the rapport, and you can demonstrate you have the authority in your sphere. Now it's just a matter of bringing more value and showing how you're helping people in their journey. I use the term journey of transformation. That might be a little too, but anyway, I believe that we're all on a journey of transformation, personally and professionally. So we're helping others. Our we talk about, Maslow talks about self-actualization. Well, I think that Viktor Frankl actually had it with living transcendently. It's once you know who you are, what you have to offer, now it's time to show up in the world and offer that and help other people in their journey of transformation. So I think if we have that mindset as business leaders, that we're actually helping transform other people, helping them to reach their aspirational identity and have the things that they want to have and be the people that they want to be, the more we're able to do that, obviously, the more we're going to be compensated and the returns are going to come for us. So,
hey, let's wrap up our conversation today with maybe some at least one goal we have for the next 90 days, just to give people an idea of, like, in our hearts and our minds and our businesses and our, Stacy was talking about personal life aligning. What's one goal that you have? Let's say maybe Christine, you can start. What's one thing that you're like, okay, the next 90 days, this is definitely something I want to see happen when it comes to revenue, clients, personal life that's going to impact your business, whatever it is. What's an example of a good 90-day goal that might
90
be?
day. Well, for me, events, right? We love events. And so
Mhm.
that's a lot of what I do.
Okay.
And so we're working on a gala for the Veterans Chamber. So
Okay.
that's finding sponsors, it's nurturing those relationships, it's
Yeah.
building those relationships, getting people right tickets. I mean, it's a whole thing. So if you've got it on your mind that you want to do an event,
Yeah.
90 days is a great time to start planning that out. Is your branding on point? What do you
Okay.
need to do? Who do you need to bring in? So if you have an event, start planning.
So if you have one event that's 90 days out, do you usually have some kind of like how many people that you want to end up attending? How many folks are going to be at least aware of it? Like what kind of metrics are you
Right.
popping
So it
into that?
depends if it's a paid event, right? So for the a gala, right, we're going to be selling tickets, right? So we're
Okay.
going to have a goal, and there's going to be a certain amount of tickets on how many people can attend, how many people can you put in the room, right?
Mhm.
Who do you need to help be on your team to help
Okay.
promote that? Right? Are you going to do paid? Are you going to do something more organic? Right? What are your options? Are you
Yeah.
going to get out there and talk on podcasts and let people know what you're doing? Right? So you got to plan your strategy. What works for you and what works for your particular event,
What would
and
be
so
a
you
win
put
for
that in
that
place.
event, Christine? Share with us. What would be a win? Like how many people
A
should
win
be
on
buying
that event.
tickets? Yeah.
I would love to sell all the tickets.
Which is
Of
how
course,
many?
we want to sell all the tickets. We want to make sure we've got sponsors, title sponsors for everything. We want
How many
sponsors to
sponsors?
handle the prayer breakfast. I mean, so we have all sorts of different steps, right? So I want sponsors in every spot they're supposed to be. I want
How
them to
many
have
sponsors,
swag
Christine?
bags.
Come on, give us a number. How many sponsors do you want?
Sponsors, a title sponsor for the main event. We need a sponsor for the prayer breakfast. We need a sponsor for, right. Those are right off the top of the head. I think, then there's table sponsors, right.
Mhm.
So you're gonna have multiple table sponsors, right.
Okay.
You want
So
a
you're looking
second
at
level
dozens of
sponsor also.
sponsors.
So
You're looking at
probably a
like,
good 6 sponsors.
okay, okay. So let's help Christine get 10 sponsors for that event. Let's all light her up on social media. See if we can come. Anybody connected with veterans or chamber of commerce of any kind, connect with Christine. She'll have some goodies for you for sure. Tim,
Oh,
what do you
absolutely.
what do you got for a 90-day goal, either personally, professionally, or kind of a combination of both? What do you got going right now?
Yeah, I am. This is my year of generosity, as I was talking to the Masterclass folks. So I want to just continue to create more value, and one of the things that I'd be happy to offer for those who show up to our summit. I happen to be the first speaker, which I'm very excited about, and I'd be happy to give anyone who shows up a copy of this document that would help them to lay out their goals and to track those goals and to develop those daily habits. So just as a
Okay.
bit of,
All right. So next Tuesday, at the time of this recording, which is January 10th, 2023. That's fun to say, 2023, right? Um, listen up for Tim Solmonson's goal document. What goal do you have though, Tim, that you might want to share that you're really aiming toward? Maybe we can even help you on in some way.
yeah, I am. I'm putting together a course that's directly related to the book that I wrote, Brand Evangelism. So
Okay.
this course is based on the 5 C's of getting clarity about your purpose, communicating that purpose, connecting with your ideal audience, making your contribution, and then calling people to be a part of your community.
So you heard it here first. Tim Solmonson's going to have a course within 90 days, and we're going to help him with that in any way we can, as a network, as a tribe, as a group. Anybody listening, reach out to Tim if you want to help him or be a part of it or help with the technology side. Tim has great vision, and we love to surround him with all the technology and the just different pieces that will help push those dominoes down. Let's just get them going. Let's just get them going. So that'll be fun to see that course, Tim, and we look forward to highlighting that as well. Stacy, what do you got for the next 90 days that might be worth mentioning here?
So for the next 90 days, I have at the end of December, I worked out my default calendar again. So I've had a lot of change in 2022. So my default calendar needed to be reworked. And my goal is to stick to that default calendar every day for the next 90 days and be as productive as possible for each one of my clients. And also to gain one more client in the first quarter of 2023.
Because you
And
only have a space for a certain amount of clients, so you're really looking for that one like
yep,
perfect client that you like to serve, and helping them reach out, helping them get some things done on the phones and inboxing people and messaging, and even some marketing strategy that's kind of around that, and making sure that that works. Just boots on the ground. Let's get some let's get some calls and messages going. Let's go. You're a
absolutely.
fire starter too, just like Christine. I love that. I love that. Well,
Awesome.
very cool. So for me, I have an event at Oral Roberts University coming up that I'll be on stage at the end of this month. But I want big event like that every month. So I'm looking for one in February right now, ladies and gentlemen. If you got a big event that you want somebody just to kind of come with my quirky redheaded, style of talking about marketing, then that'll be fun. Talk about, anyway, I won't go into all that, but one big event every month, one January, one February, one March, and then of course, depending on when you're listening to this, I want to keep that going into the deeper part of the year. But I see that turning into once a week. Within 90 days, I want to start shifting from once a month events to once a week events, and I'll be on stage just talk about the Giver Marketing Network, Kingdom Warriors, some of the other great projects that I'm involved with or founded or whatever, and I'm excited to do that. So my big thing this year is kind of coming out of the hiddenness and onto the stages. And we've had our own stages, but I want to kind of welcome other people. Of course, we're trying to hit that 100 team member mark. Stacy and Christine and Tim and others have been really good about inviting folks. So we're at like mid 70s right now at the time of recording. We kind of fluctuate a little bit here and there as folks kind of leave the network for various reasons, usually because they get too busy. But then there's like 4 or 5 more waiting to join in. So super excited to hit that 100 team member mark, which will happen in the next 90 days for sure. And so I'm excited to kind of cross that and celebrate together. I think that's going to be really fun for the marketing network we're involved with. So, well, guys, gals,
Timothy, I'm going to interrupt you because you're talking about all these great marketers that we're bringing in, and we have such talented marketers. It's absolutely incredible, their wide breadth and depth of what they know. And so I don't think everybody realizes who's speaking next week at our all-day event. This is going to be an all-day marketing summit, and we've got Timothy. I know you're going to start things out, introduce everybody. I know Tim's talking first, right, about story branding. Is that right? And then we've got Vicky coming in talking about Google visibility. We're going to be talking about how to write interesting stories. We've got somebody else talking about Google ads. I'll be talking about networking, branding. We've got mailbox power, different becoming a best-selling author, radio marketing promotions, relationship marketing, tax credits for your marketing costs, more stuff about promotions, SEO, and all those hidden secrets, nurturing old-fashioned phone calls. I mean, we have so many cool topics that are going to be coming up next Tuesday. So, people can't always sit there the whole time. We understand they're going to pop in and out, but you really want to spend more time. Have us running in the background while you're doing your work, right? And then you can go, oh, wait a minute, drop what you're doing for a second, tune in real tight, right? And hear what we've got going on, because we've got some awesome stuff going on. Here we go. Judy wants to know, how do I attend this event? Well, we've got
jump into the group, ladies
right
and gentlemen. Now. We make it really easy. Just jump into the group that you see on the screen, givermarketing.com/group. You can always find your way into that group with invite. It's kind of an invite only, so you're being invited. Okay, so jump into the group. Stacy, if she recognizes your name or if you say something nice, Stacy and her team will let you into that group, and you'll have access not only to the live all-day event, but you'll have access to the replay automatically by being in that group. So our goal is to grow that group to be a powerhouse, and we're excited to have you. So go to givermarketing.com/group. You will have access. You'll be reminded. There'll be an event, like event reminders kind of a thing inside the group. And so you'll be an extension of this tribe and have some fun doing that. So really appreciate those who are already in the group, and get ready, because we're already promoting and putting all sorts of stuff out there. And if you want to know who's on the kind of the speaker list, you can jump into the group right now and check that out. Okay. givermarketing.com/group. Thank you, Stacy and Christine and Tim, for helping us fly today and have some fun about really putting those goals together that are going to impact not only this year, but for years to come. So no matter when you're listening to this, hopefully there's a real high value for you. And feel free to press rewind, watch it again. This is good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll see you in our respective groups. Kingdom Warriors paid group and our Giver Marketing group are both really great resources for you to jump into. And if you need more information about the Kingdom Warriors group, it's all based on owning an NFT. So we're glad to be able to walk you through that. You can reach out to any of us and we'll help you walk through that. Okay. God bless you. Talk to you soon.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.